Hello. I did a video earlier on and then discovered that the whole 30 minutes worth of it, or however long it took me, the damn program wasn't recording. So I'm having to do it again. Hence the crutch. To continue. Now look, a lot of people have been doing the Serena Williams thing and the Article 13 thing. And I'm not going to cover those in any more than a couple of fast mentions because everybody's done them and many much better than me. For the Serena Williams disgusting episode in which she was screaming, "It's not fair," I just couldn't help but think of those poor buggers caught up in Hurricane Florence. That wasn't fair. And if you remember in a previous video, I showed two young men, and that was probably a private boat. It didn't look like they were official rescuers. They had their boat out picking up people. And one of them was an old man with all his stuff in two bags, wading through thigh-high water. And the other one was a young man who had nothing with him but a kitten he'd rescued. And he was sat there in the boat trying to keep himself together. And he said, "All my stuff, man," or something like that. Everything he owned had gone. And he'd been through several bad weather events. He listed a few. And this one had finished him off. That's not fair. You spoiled, self-entitled, complete brat, Williams. Okay, that's my take on the Williams thing. The other thing was Article 13. There is nothing more I can say. We've been screwed. How many times can you say that in any sort of, without just getting boring? And in any case, there's a good video by the Britisher. He pointed out something that I hadn't thought of course. The European Commission and the European Council had to agree to put this whole business forward. And the UK is part of the European Council, so they colluded in constructing this. The Britisher said it probably had to do with the huge and completely dominant entertainment and music industry that Britain has. The rest of Europe hardly have anything at all. So yes, it's probably something to do with them. We can't blame the EU entirely, which frankly is a bit of a shame. Now, to go on to other things, I came across a video of a speech given by somebody called Tony Schwartz, who was the ghostwriter for Trump's book, The Art of the Deal. And Tony Schwartz gave a speech to the assembled students in which he tried to justify why he did it and why he regrets it so much now. And he went through a whole load of stuff about miserable childhood and a wish for glory, or I don't know, a whole load of stuff, which was totally irrelevant to the argument he was making. And I could go through the whole thing, but it was an hour's speech, and if you stop to make comments, it will turn out to be very long. But I am going to play you the last few minutes of the speech when he'd finished giving his speech, and he's being questioned by the chairman of the proceedings prior to questions coming from the floor. And I found them very interesting because there is a total lack of self-awareness in that whole business that Tony Schwartz is displaying throughout. It's like, although he can talk about the fact that he allowed the money to tempt him and all that stuff, there really isn't any true self-awareness about what he did and why he did it. I don't think he did a bad thing at all, but he does. but that doesn't follow from the way he speaks about this. So let's just go to that first clip.
The line between the campaign's strategy and its buffoonery is quite blurred, and I'm wondering from your perspective, how contrived is the campaign? Are the blunders planned, are the scandals relished, or is this literally just screw up after screw up?
It is literally screw up after screw up.
I want you to pay attention to the audience there, because he has spent the whole speech flattering his audience. He talks earlier on about Trump never reading a book or having a short attention span, all the sorts of things that students are taught, well, good students are taught to believe are inferior aspects of human nature. And he keeps making the contrast between those students in the hall in front of him and the ignorant character of Trump. And quite frankly, I don't think Trump's a nice person. And if he moved in next door, I'd do my best to sell the house, because I wouldn't like to be a neighbour. He'd be a bully. However, when you're electing a president, a nice guy is not what you want. You want somebody who can actually run the country. And the people of America had a choice between an ignorant, bombastic bully who might run things and a corporate shill, which is how Hillary Clinton came across. That would have been a tough choice.
I mean, there is no planning in the sense that Trump runs the store. Make no mistake. The reason you see tweets from him that are self-immolating and crazy is because nobody controls him. He does what he wants to do.
Right, and there you have it. But he doesn't understand that. Nobody controls him. He does what he wants to do, and that's what people wanted.
And there's not some aide standing next to his bed at 4 a.m. when he gets the impulse to send out a tweet.
Yeah, and that's how they felt Hillary Clinton was, surrounded by spin doctors and aides and advisors and representatives of various interests. That's what they didn't want. Somebody who spoke what she was fed, not what just came out.
The campaign is a almost perfect reflection of the man.
Oh, by the way, I want to say, I forgot to say earlier, this speech appears to have been made just over a week before the American elections. He said in 10 days' time he could be the leader of the free world. So I'm assuming it's 10 days before. But however, you know what? I wouldn't believe him if he told me what day of the week it was, frankly. Okay, that's the first video. And now the second bit, which was question number 2.
And my last question before I pass on to the audience is, how do you think he is going to deal with losing, if he loses?
You're making me anxious. First of all, I'm very superstitious, and I don't want to say that he's going to lose, even though I desperately hope he loses. It would be a true black swan event for him to win. But it was a black swan event for him to win the nomination. So I don't rule it out. Having said that, I do expect him to lose, and I do not expect him to go quietly into the night.
Hang on a minute. So I want you to pay attention to the fact that Schwartz says he expects Trump to lose, because that'll come later. Some comments will come later.
He has kept upping the ante as a drug addict would. The drug addict wants more cocaine or a pure dose of heroin because they're forever chasing the high.
Now, Can you imagine any candidate for the presidency not chasing the high? Can you imagine anybody standing for president who doesn't have an ego as big as the planet? Because I can't. You're not going to get some modest retiring monk who prefers to live in a cave running for the presidency. It has to be somebody who likes addressing the crowd, who likes that feedback, who feels that he can direct the ship of state. You've got to have a huge ego for that. And I'm quite sure Obama and Kennedy and Clinton, all of them had exactly that drive to pursue that high. So why he should think that that's an exceptional thing for Trump? Well, because he has no self-awareness.
Donald Trump, when it comes to attention, is forever chasing the high. And so when this election ends and he feels, listen, much more mentally healthy candidates for president than him have gone through extended periods of depression following their losses. It's a...
You know, this is exactly it. He is not the sort of person who introspects. Is there such a word? Well, anyway, you know what I mean. He who goes in for too much introspection. He just does the job. You can't have people over-intellectualizing in a job like that. Yeah, you can take advice. But once a thing is done, it's done, and then you've got to carry on. By the way, Winston Churchill wasn't a very nice man either. But he was one of the greatest leaders of any country, anywhere, at any time on the planet, except maybe Ramses II. And he wasn't a very nice man either.
Huge public loss and humiliation. But Trump is not available to depression.
No, and that's the sort of man you need when you're dealing with decisions that could be world-changing.
He just won't go there, I don't think. So instead, he'll go to anger.
Now. This is the bit that interested me the most, because he says he's talking about Trump, but what he is in fact talking about is all the Democrats.
And he will drum up that anger that's sitting inside his supporters.
Inside the Democratic supporters.
In any way he can.
In any... by any means necessary.
To provide evidence that...
To provide evidence...
he was wronged, the election was rigged.
That the election was rigged and that the Russians intervened or something.
And he didn't really lose.
And Clinton didn't really lose.
Trust me when I say this.
Oh, yes, why should I trust you?
When Trump loses the election...
slight problem there.
he will never acknowledge...
When the Democrats lose the election, they will never acknowledge...
he will not concede the election, and he will never acknowledge that he lost the election.
That they lost. They're still saying they won now.
Because to do that is to feel obliterated.
Because to do that is to feel obliterated. To know that you're wrong. To know that the American people have rejected your arguments. To know that you have called them evil. And they know that you're evil. And I'm using evil in a rather loose way, I have to say. Probably overstating the case there a bit.
And he's not going there.
And they are not going there. Everything that Tony Schwartz has said is what the Democrats are doing now. This is just absolutely textbook classic projection, isn't it? And absolutely no self-awareness.
So it's going to be a dangerous, tense time in America. In the weeks after the election.
Oh, yes. A dangerous, tense time in America right now because of people like you, Mr. Schwartz, and all the rest of the Democrats. But what's even funnier is this. These are some of the comments underneath the video. And this is number one. Well, nearly a year since he was elected, and every single thing he said about Trump has been shown to be true. You mean like him losing? But this is a complete lack of awareness, never mind self-awareness. Second comment, let's have a look at this one. No use to belabor Trump's character to American audiences. They are the same idiots who voted for Bush. So, right, this is it. You vote for the person this guy doesn't agree with, you're an idiot. You don't just have a different political opinion, you're an idiot. And then the person underneath, you're right, we really need to pass a law requiring citizens to take an IQ test and have it score over 120 before they're allowed to vote. Right, yeah. Now, I hang around universities a lot, and I know a lot of people who are very intelligent, who have IQs that go straight through the roof, never mind 120, 140, 150, and they make the most incredibly stupid decisions just because you can pass an intelligence test, well, it says something about your success in life. It doesn't say, though, that you know much about politics or social developments, or even that you can make right decisions. I know one very incredibly good mathematician who got arrested because he seemed to be acting strangely in a park. He wasn't, he was just thinking maths, but somebody thought he was, a bit loopy. Right, now, let's have a look at comment 4. Now, this lecture was a stack of self-absorbed rubbish. And this is what this comment says. This is a deeply poignant and moving essay and reflection. Well, yeah, you could say reflection, in as much as this guy was looking into a mirror and only seeing himself. Thank you for taking the time to write and read such a moving, universal and relevant piece about what it all means to be human. You know what? That's got to be a troll. Okay, 5. Tony Schwartz sure has Trump's number. Yeah, he does. And the thing that's most refreshing to me is when he speaks, you hear his honesty. This guy has no honesty at all in any of his assessments. And 6, let's have a look at this. And everything the man said has turned to be spot on accurate. That's good, except for the one minor point that Trump won and the Democrats lost. I'd say that was quite a difference, actually. And then the last one, number 7. It's interesting watching this video again a few months on, and everything he said would happen is happening. What? Trump losing and then going ballistic? No, the Democrats losing and going ballistic, but that's not exactly what he said. All right, well, it just shows you that Schwartz isn't the only one who's got a complete lack of ability to see what he was doing wrong, doesn't it? Or a lack of ability even to see into his own soul, or even to see how events turned out. All right, well, I didn't succeed in finishing the brandy. I'll finish that later. I've got to edit this video now. We'll see how it turns out. I'm very grateful for financial contributions. But if you don't want to give money, you can still help a lot by sharing this and other videos I've made. Also, remember to check your subscription from time to time, as sometimes subscriptions get erased for one reason or another. Till next time.